Schuster Hashishivas, Admirim, Rabbanim, Chashav and Mesuvim. Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, at the beginning of his Sefer Mesilas Yesharim, teaches us Sheha'adam Le'nivra Elo Le'his'aneg al Hashem, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the person for one purpose and for one ultimate goal, Le'his'aneg al Hashem, that the person should be able to have tainug, to be able to have pleasure from his yachas, from his relationship to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'lehenos miziv shchinasai, and that he might derive pleasure from the brilliance of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence. What we learn from these words of Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto is no doubt the significance of a person being able not only to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but to be able to find in his Avodas Hashem a tainug, a pleasure, a hana. In the words of Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, Shezeu hatainug ha'amiti v'ha'idun ha'gadol mikol ha'idunim sheyecholum lahamtzi. For this is the greatest pleasure that a person can receive. But one must take note of the words of Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, because there is a certain hanacha, there's a certain premise in the words of Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto that we often skip over. The hanacha of Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a person with a tremendous drive and an ability to be a keli, to absorb tainug, to absorb pleasure. Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, upon that hanacha, says, I want you to know that the way that a person was built to absorb tainug, that's the tainug with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the hanacha rishayna, the first concept in what the Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto is saying, is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a person and built a person that he is shayef tainug, that he desires and he has a drive and he has a thirst for tainug. What are the implications of what Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto is saying? The first implication of this lesson is that we need to recognize that within each and every one of us, if we are but the Adam that Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto refers to, that there is, if we can recognize it or not, a thirst for a tainug, a thirst that we might not be able to define or understand, but certainly creates within us a feeling of chisara and a feeling of lack until we reach that tainug. It's important to know that there's something cooking inside of us that's desiring tainug. However, if that's the case, that is both a bracha and a challenge. It's a bracha in the sense that we were made as kelim that are able to receive tainug. But it is also a challenge because we need to cultivate what kind of a tainug, what kind of a pleasure did HaKadosh Baruch Hu intend in the keli that he made me. Certainly, the intention of the tainug is a tainug of ruchnius, and that a person should come to understand that that's the most authentic and meaningful pleasure that he was created to absorb. But this is built on a number of qualifications, a number of prerequisites. A cultivation of what constitutes pleasure for a yid is built on certain qualifications. Number one, there has to be an emunah in a yid that there is tainug in ruchnius, that there is pleasure and deep pleasure and the most all-encompassing pleasure in ruchnius. This could be understood if one would need to explain it a little bit better, because the true understanding of what Avodas Hashem is not simply mitzvahs anashim melumada. It's not simply the performance of mitzvahs b'maaseh gashmi, just physically performing mitzvahs. But what mitzvahs really constitute, as Svarim teach us, is that the word mitzvah comes from the word tzavsa, a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a recognition of Gadlusa, a recognition of His greatness, a recognition of His Ava for Klal Yisrael, a recognition of everything that constitutes HaKadosh Baruch Hu and His relationship to every Yid in Klal Yisrael. And that through Kiyum HaMitzvahs, a person is developing a yachas with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And just as we find that we are hopefully matzliach to find meaningful relationships that give us tainug in life, that give us pleasure in life, so it is that we're supposed to find tainug, we're supposed to find nachas in the fact that we're Avdei Hashem. The second prerequisite is not only do we need to have emunah that there is tainug in ruchnius, but that I can find my tainug in ruchnius. There is tainug for me personally in ruchnius. Thirdly, the third prerequisite is a willingness to live with the disciplines that make it possible for us to enjoy ruchnius. That we don't bombard our taste buds with the junk food of the world in a way that our taste buds cannot taste the fine wines and the pleasures of ruchnius. This principle that a person is created in a way of being mekabel tainug, the ability to, the drive and the thirst for pleasure and the ability to accept pleasure, this concept, this yesod, gives us a way of understanding many, many difficult and challenging situations and provides the necessary insight to resolve these challenges successfully. Take the example of the non-observant, non-affiliated Jew, who in his outside appearance, and certainly by the lifestyle that he has led, develops a life philosophy that is not much different than the Greeks. But the reality is that we cannot and we must not shy away from our responsibility to reach out to these people. For if we believe in the words of the Ramchal, a Yid has to believe about every single other Yid that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created him l'his'ameg al Hashem. And that the inner makeup of every Yid is a makeup that ultimately can lead and reach nachas in an avodas Hashem. False leaders that misrepresent what Yahadus is would rather accommodate a Yid where he is, compromising and reaching down to the level of the Yid. True leaders in Klal Yisrael had emunah in Klal Yisrael. And emunah in Klal Yisrael means precisely what the Ramchal says. That when you look at a Yid, you look at the inside the Yid and you see that there's a mechanism that's thirsting and screaming and starving for l'his'ameg al Hashem. what these hundreds of thousands of Yidden all over America and all over the world are victims not of choice but of circumstance. Where did they learn? Where did they have the opportunity to learn the emunah that Ruchnius can give them, the yearning for pleasure that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created within them? Who could